Hi everyone, how's it going? Maggie here. Today I want to talk about Chris D'Elia and his public YouTube apology, I guess you could call it. He came out like 3 days ago after it's been about 8 months of silence since he's been accused online by the social media mob that he was having affairs with underage girls. And we hadn't heard from Chris until now, so it's very interesting that he's posted this YouTube video called It's Been a While, and it's got like 1,400,000 views as of 3 days ago. So I wanted to point out a few things that I thought were really interesting about this video. It's about 10 minutes long, and talk about it. So let's just like hop right in, okay?
Hi everyone. I know that it's been a really long time since you've heard from me, and when the news broke, I put...
I'm sorry, I'm smiling. Actually, I shouldn't be smiling. I think when I see Chris talk, my first gut reaction when I see his face is like he's going to say something totally hilarious. So it's like strange to see him in a serious mode. I also don't recognize that voice. And also the body language is very like hunched over, humble. You know, it's a look. So I understand.
Hi everyone.
Replay it again.
I know that it's been a really long time since you've heard from me, and when the news broke, I put out a statement that said everything I've done has been legal and consensual, and that's true. And I wanted that statement to speak for itself. And I wanted to talk immediately. I wanted to post online. I wanted to do my podcast, business as usual, but I thought that might not be the best thing. What might be the best thing would be if I just take this time to be with my family, try and take a long, hard look at myself and the media.
Right.
It was hard. Hard look at myself and just.
I think it was a really good move on his part to not jump right back into comedy and his podcast as much as we all missed it. So I give him respect for that. I think it was also a good move to just like spend time and dealing with all of this with his family.
It was a lot. It was hard. I first of all, I do know how it looks with all the stuff that's been said and the emails that have been put out.
I mean, I have this hunch that Chris was probably so traumatized by this. I actually feel bad for him. I'm sure that this like completely tore up his life and has been like monumentally devastating for him. He seems like he's sensitive and like imagine everybody around you, including your fiance, just like being super mad at you. And it must have just been really hard. So
there and what the media has been trying to say, and I know it looks bad, and it doesn't show the full scope of what happened. I stand by the fact that all my relationships have been consensual and legal, and that's just it. That's the truth. I threw this kind of time away. I've sought out a lot of kind of, medical advice, therapy, and stuff like that. That doesn't matter here nor there. But what I have come to understand is this was always about sex to me, my life.
Wow, that is like a shocking statement to say. To use the word sex, like such an intimate act in like this video that could have been not as specific. He could have used words, intimacy or I don't know, he could have like kind of tiptoed around the word sex. Like when I think sex, I'm just like body fluids and animals and like I don't even like it kind of weirds me out to even hear that word because it feels like that's your business, what you do with your like life behind doors. Like the whole entire world doesn't deserve or need to know what you're doing with your like organs. So like that's a strong word.
Sex. It
Sex again.
controlled my life. It was the focus. It was my focus.
That
all
is
the time.
Super vulnerable to say that.
And I had a problem, and I do have a problem. It's not like you months down the line you just kind of.
That's interesting. I don't really know like what's a problem versus what isn't a problem when it comes to sex. I think like our society that creates fantasies of reproduction and monogamy and family life, I think that's like almost creepier than having sex with people. So I don't know how much of a problem you have, but let's see what else he says.
Everything's better. I need to do work on that.
I think it's like the chaos of like sex with different people versus the security of like monogamy with your baby, and it's sort of like which is socially acceptable and which isn't, or are we saying that one is wrong and the other is right? But we live in like a very Judeo-Christian puritanical society that is like a family promoter, because families are needed to perpetuate society forward. Families, send your kids through the education system. They become laborers in the workforce. So, like, we need families to perpetuate human existence, and human existence is wreaking havoc on the earth. So it's like, which is creepier to me, like reproduction or sex with people when you're a celebrity? I don't know. That's up to you.
When I first started doing stand-up and I started getting a little bit of notoriety in my early 30s, having sex got a lot easier.
It's like he's talking about sex like it's a bad thing.
For lack of better words.
Isn't it only a bad thing if you've promised to a person that you won't have sex with other people? Or if you're like impregnating people. Like that's the bad thing in my brain.
And I felt lucky. I felt like, oh wow, I don't need to work as hard. I can just do a show and then have sex, or roll into a city and look at my inbox and then just start writing. And I did, man. I wrote. I know you've seen some of the messages online.
Wow,
there's way more than that. I would get at least 50 messages after a show each city a night, and I would reply to all of them.
Oh my gosh, he would reply to all of them. I never tried to message him. I didn't know comedians did that. I thought they just ignored you. I must be too old. I think the kind of sex he's talking about is like the kind of sex that like we've all had at some point. Well, I can't say we all. That like I know that I have had this kind of sex too that's been like power play sex. So I went through a phase where I was managing clubs, and I would see the comedians that I thought were like the funniest and the coolest, and like they're the guys in the room making everybody laugh, and I was like, if I can get to that guy, then I can feel good about myself. Like I am such a high quality person that I could get the funniest guy in the room that everybody wants. Granted, they're also banging other people too, but this is like in my own deluded younger self. Like that's what I did. I used it from like a position of making myself feel better if I like conquested, and I think that's more of a male thing to do. Maybe because you have an external sex organ where women have an internal sex organ. But it's kind of half and half, right? But it's like more internal. So I think with Chris, he's saying like he was doing it as a conquest to feel like he could get it, you know, and like he was feeling good about himself if he like got that person, and probably many beautiful young women, you know, that are just like cream of the crop in like the sexual human world, probably.
And I thought in my mind that being straight up with these women was the right thing to do. I'd say, hey, come to my hotel room and let's have sex, let's make out, let's do this, let's do that. And
I will say, like, that's more honorable than being like, do you want to be my boyfriend, or I'll leave my fiance for you. I have appreciated when men have been straight up with me that this is all it is. So it's almost like this agreement between the two. So that is an honorable thing. I remember there was a comedian once, because I went through my comedian years, and I actually liked this guy, like, for maybe more than, he was like sea level. He's just like not like high up or anything, but the next day, so we were together, and then the next day I was producing a show with him on it, and he texted me and was like, can I bring my girlfriend? And I was like, I went crazy. I had no idea he had a girlfriend, and he assumed that I like stalked him on social media, and I knew his friends, I knew like he had a girlfriend, and I didn't. And it was like, but it was that expectation that hurt me so bad, but he never like, I don't know that he ever told me. He just assumed that I knew, which is kind of a different thing. But I'm just saying, like, setting expectations for what it is better than, like, leading somebody on into thinking it's more than it is.
That was what I thought was right. I realized through all of this that doing that is just treating sex like it's casual and being flippant with people.
Okay. That is if the person on the receiving end is not mature enough to enter into the contract with you that you verbally have made, hey, this is just sex. And if it's a younger girl, of course, or like a younger female, of course, I remember my younger self, like, we get feelings get involved, you know, but like from his perspective, he was upfront with them. But I know I've gotten hurt like many times just thinking it's going to be more. But if I go into something knowing it's just sex and I partake in that, like, I'm every bit as, it's like danger zone. Your feelings might get involved, but it's not going to be the guy's fault unless he withholds information from you or leads you on to think that it's going to be something different than it is. I had this one relationship for months with a comedian, and I will never say who it is, but he would invite me to his house, and he would actually say, like, I can't believe I did this now, but he would say, don't talk. I don't want you to talk. And I was like, oh my God, it sounds awful. And I felt better about myself because I was like, I'm with this famous comedian. You know, I would dress up in like, I would play the fantasy too. I'd dress up like in a hot cocktail dress. I'd wear heels. You know, I'd go over there with my hair down. And then he liked my hair in a ponytail. Like, it was kind of like a weird fetishy thing that we were doing. And I was fully aware of it. And it didn't make me feel bad about myself because I was like, I was a willing participant in it all. I didn't think that he was going to be like my boyfriend someday. But you know what? What ended up happening is I caught feelings in the end, and I had to cut it off when I started catching feelings. I couldn't like do that anymore. And it was, some people would say like, you don't have respect for yourself because you did that. No, I played the game until my feelings got involved, and then I had to like stop playing the game. It's tricky because you really have to like gauge your emotions, and it's like water. You know, you have to really like guard yourself into, because there's a fine line in between, you know, not like letting yourself be used or exploited with a false expectation of what this relationship is going to be, and just like having a good time, seeing it for what it is, you know, like getting off in a way, having fun, feeling like those surges of power. You know, it is kind of like a drug.
And that's not the guy I want to be. It's not okay, and I'm sorry for that.
Okay, if that's not the guy he wants to be, then that's a truth. That's not the guy he wants to be. I don't think there's necessarily anything inherently needing of apology. Maybe just this recognition that he wants to identify as a man who is more like, I don't know, more not so sexual, I guess.
It makes me feel shameful and it makes me feel bad.
Unfortunately, shame and feeling bad is part of a Judeo-Christian society that we have in America. And the social media mob got it twisted when they thought it was underage. So unfortunately, he was attacked because people thought it was underage, but then it made him feel bad for his like, I guess, obsession with power control sex, which is understandable. Like, that's his reality and his truth. I as like a recovering ex-Christian that felt bad and shameful for having sex before I was married, or having sex at all, really, was subjected to a lot of shame and guilt. So I don't like those feelings, and I am like, sad that Chris went through this.
People talk a lot about the power dynamic and about, why should someone who is a fan of yours have to worry about if you want to sleep with them or not? And
wait a minute, I need to digest that. Why should somebody
where I fall on
who is a fan of yours worry about whether you want to sleep with them or not? I mean, isn't that a matter of like ulterior motives in human beings? I think like every time a woman that's like a good-looking woman in society's standards is dealing with like a straight male, in the back of your head you wonder, are you wanting to have me around, talking to you, working with you, whatever? Does my physical appearance play into this at all? I think that's something that just like women that are like good, better-looking women deal with. I'm not saying like it's, oh, woe is me. I'm just saying like it's in the back of your mind. It's the same as like, it's like the power dynamic. Every time a celebrity meets a new person, they probably wonder, oh, does this person just want to hang out with me because because I'm famous, and when I go places, like I bring the party, and like it's exciting to be around me. I remember like back in Chicago, oh my God, it's such an embarrassing story. I cannot even tell it. But there was this comedian I really, really liked, and he wanted nothing to do with me. He did not like me. But we all went out after his show, and we're all like just like at this bar partying, and it's like a lot of the cocktail waitresses from there, and he was there, and like when he left, the party like fizzled a little bit, because it was like he was there, it was amped up, like everybody was out, dancing, and it was like he was contributing, and I'm sure like he got tired of being that person that always had to bring the party, and he wasn't even like a big drinker type person. So he left. Just as an aside, I'll tell this story. He went back to his hotel room, right? I got super drunk. I was texting him, like asking him where he was staying, and I knew where he was staying because I was like managing there at the time. I went to his hotel room drunk, okay? And this is so embarrassing. Look, like I'm an asshole for doing this. I went to his hotel room, even though he's not picking up, okay? Like the nerve of me. This is awful. I knock on the door, okay? And he doesn't answer. So I decide I'm going to like walk around the corner, and there's like some stairs right there, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like kind of sit down for a minute and see if maybe he texts me. This is like the worst idea ever. Like women, if a guy doesn't like respond back to you, don't go to their hotel room. Okay? So I'm sitting on the stairs texting him, and guess who walks right by me and down the stairs and sees me and has a conversation with me? One of the cocktail waitresses that I manage. Yeah. Can you imagine how embarrassing? How I was her boss. I was her boss stalking a comedian outside of his room, And she just walked out of his room. Who knows what was going on? And it was just the beginning of the end for my time there. I was like, I'm losing it. I'm not okay to be doing this. I was drunk, but like, you can't excuse things that are drunk. It was super awkward. From then on out, of course, like, that cocktail waitress tells everybody, all the cocktail waitresses then knew, you know? And then she was apologizing to me. And then I'm just like, no, you have not, he chose you. You know, he chose you, not me. I'm the idiot. I'm the idiot. Oh, my God. She thought I was going to be mad at her. She was the sweetest girl.
On that, you know, I sometimes think, especially in my early 30s, I would be like, well, the girl has the power, because that's, you know, I want to have sex with them, and if they want to have sex with me, then great. But what I can say is the familiarity. I would use the familiarity that I had with these women to have sex. I was like, oh, they already used me. They already know me. I didn't have to.
Okay.
I didn't have.
I mean, that's like definitely a real thing. There was this comedian that told me, you already know everything about me because you've seen all my sets. You know where I stand politically. You know where my humor lies. You know about my childhood. And it was like, yeah, and that was really cool. I felt like I knew him. But he knew nothing about me, nor did he ever ask, you know. So, yeah, it's different. You do feel familiar with people, especially comedians that are like seemingly bearing their hearts out there. And you know, you don't know that they're saying the same thing over and over and over again every single time. You know, that these bits they've been doing for like years a lot of times. I mean, some great comedians can like switch it up a lot, but a lot of them are just like, it's like the same act, you know. So, but it feels like so off the cuff, like it's just, they're just up there just like teddy bears and funny, making everyone laugh, you know. What girl doesn't want a guy to make them laugh? And then if you're like halfway decent looking and tall, it's just like, okay.
Do the extra work. And I was...
Yeah, I mean, like the extra work, these are people that are okay with you not knowing anything about them. So it's like, yeah, you've done, half of the work is done, like the woman kind of knows about you, so maybe they feel safe with you, but like you haven't done any work toward the woman, like knowing, do you have a brother or sister? Where are you from? You know, but that's like, we go into it knowing that, right? Like that they're not honestly all that interested either. I've never met a comedian that's like asked me about myself.
Talking to one of my friends who, I was talking to one of my friends about this, and about the power dynamic, and about the familiarity and not having to use that. And I said, why is that behavior not okay? Why is it not okay to sleep with somebody if it's consensual and they want to sleep with you? And he said, it's okay. Well, it is okay. It's okay until it's not.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. The problem is when it's younger women, they have not had enough experience with men to know how to manage their own emotions. That's just what I think. I mean, there's some young women that are older souls, or they're more like wise to the ways of the world, but depending on your upbringing, on like, I don't know, the ideas that you got planted in you as a person, a sexual being, you know, you're going to have like, you have all these different people that you're dealing with, especially if like mathematically your numbers are up and you're with a bunch of different girls. Like, it's bound to happen that there's going to be some that like get pissed off or catch feelings or misinterpret what this is, get hurt. You know, people get hurt all the time. I still get hurt. I get hurt, like, even if the guy's totally clear about, like, this not being anything, you know? It's just, like, sometimes if you connect with somebody, like, at an energetic level or a physical level, or you have any kind of, like, we're in this world where it's, like, kind of hard to find connections. I was out the other night. I met this guy through a friend. Like, he was a guy friend I saw. I was, like, his friend's... Okay, anyways, a guy that was with my friend. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was really attracted to this guy. And I haven't been like that attracted to, like, he was just like cool vibe, everything. Even the way he talked, how he carried himself, what he was wearing. And it turns out like this guy has a girlfriend, and his girlfriend was friends with like the guy's girlfriend or whatever. So like I was not being able to make any moves, but I was just like, oh, you have a girlfriend, like that sucks, because I didn't find this connection like with anybody. I haven't found it in a long time. So you kind of settle. And the thing is, I think with these celebrities and these people on stage or on screen, or who have like large social media followings, it's almost like, because they're so charismatic in their performance, we take that for like being like who they are, like we don't think about the other parts of them that are like not as becoming as that charm or that charisma, and like it becomes easier for us to get attracted to somebody like that versus somebody that's just like an everyday person that doesn't have that kind of like awe of other people. And there's also like that power dynamic. Obviously, it's like same thing happens with like guys with a lot of money, or like guys with a lot of like power that just like walk into the room and they like people like do what they say, or they like kind of have respect of their friends. Like I remember even dating somebody that was like the center of the friend group. So in a very small like micro setting that doesn't have to do with fame or anything, this guy was just like the guy to be with because he was the one that all the friends respected. He threw the parties. He was like the man, and like you like see that, and there's this like attraction for that.
And that was when, a lot of it clicked for me. It was something that just became life controlling. I mean,
it's a funny blurb there.
I would think about it all the time.
Okay, so like, yeah, this is like having the effects of like a drug. This conquest. I understand this. Like a lot of things can start to obsess us in life.
I would go and I would do my show, and like I just said earlier, and it was too much, and it became a lifestyle.
I wonder how much of this is in response to him being canceled and people like basically saying you were wrong, versus like, it's like he was never checked. Would he see it as being so bad? I'm like kind of curious, like how much the pain of all of that happening in a very public manner impacted his views on like the ethics of it all. I'm just kind of curious. I don't think we'll ever know. I don't know that he'll ever even know.
That I didn't know how to stop. I didn't even think I had a problem. I thought that this was how it was.
Again, like
was. I thought that guys in my position were lucky enough and fortunate enough. And
I think it's hard to tell somebody that they're wrong when they're just kind of exploring a phase in life, or a time where they're like growing up in a way and they're deciding who they want to be. Like I said earlier, I went through a phase where I just like kind of hooked up with comedians, and on the outside looking in, you would have said like, yeah, they're just like, they don't want a relationship with you. But I was like living out my own little fantasy power dynamic in my own head, trying to understand my own sexuality and like, who am I? Who am I as like a sexual being? What do I want out of a relationship with a male? Do I even want a relationship? Do I want it to be like a monogamous thing? What kind of guy do I want? I don't know the difference. I'm not like a like a licensed sex therapist or something to say to somebody like Chris, well, your exploration, what is a problem? I think it became a problem because it became like so public, and it must have been really devastating for his fiance, and like it was confusing probably for his friends, and it was like it must have like just like pummeled him. It's almost like if you're surfing and like you get taken by the wave, you just get like.
It was going out of control, and I never stopped it. I cheated on most of the girls that I've been with. I cheated on my fiance now.
That is like really bold and like mad respect for you for being so honest. Again, I don't think like the public I don't think it's the public's business, but you chose to make it that way, and I appreciate like his choice of being like completely honest and totally vulnerable.
And this is my dream girl. This is the girl that I want to be with for the rest of my life. And even that wouldn't stop what I was doing. And I was headed for you know what I was headed for? I was headed for this.
I think human beings, a lot of us, not everybody, but we have like these two sides to us. And I refer to it sometimes as like chaos and stability. And I think that the chaos part of it, the excitement, the chase, meeting new people, probably laughing, exploring new bodies, you know, sensations, all of that is like one thing, but it's not like a stable space. It's not a space where like those people are going to give you love, or that you can even like, even if you wanted love from them, you can't like necessarily manage fostering the time and that it's going to take in those relationships to get love. But you're going to, we all want love because we all come from our mother's womb, and it's like the thing that people are looking for is for somebody to like love us. So that comes with like a cost in a way of like you have to let go of like some of this chaos of what he was experiencing on the road, the chaos of like of the attraction of all these women and what that brings about. And like you can't like really necessarily, like we don't have structures or at least topics of conversation explored enough, and how like we can manage all different kinds of relationships and make them work. We still always go back to like it's right if you have one partner, and it's right to reproduce, and families are good, casual sex bad. Like I don't really subscribe to that. Like I said earlier, I think families are weird and creepy in a way. Like it's the smallest cult, and like I'm not judging. I'm just saying like my sensibility is just like what's creepier, you know? And it's like both, maybe they're both creepy. Like all humans like are here because of a sex act. I have another video called like Biological Sex World is Weird as Fuck. Like it's all sex. You know, I can't look at kids these days without thinking of like, oh, you're just the product of like banging, you know? I have issues, obviously.
And this needed to happen because I wouldn't have stopped cheating.
I mean, again, we're looking at cheating is bad, monogamy good, baby good, family good, casual sex bad. I mean, that's the society we live in. Like, we can't change all of society.
I wouldn't have stopped.
Wait,
using sex.
He wouldn't have stopped.
I wouldn't have stopped.
So put yourself in like a straitjacket, just a little slight straitjacket. That's going to be like healthier. The self-imposed straitjacket because of the mob that came after him. I mean, he says this girl's his dream girl and he's happy being a dad, and that's very biologically, like, you know, it's, well, he probably will be happy being a dad, right? Because it's like your own DNA in a little creature. Weird. It's so weird.
So I have a chance here to really, you know, and I have been doing the work and being somebody who is a role model for my son.
So sons should grow up, be with one woman, and reproduce. That is the role model that is socially accepted by everybody. That's the good way to be.
And I want to do that, and I can't.
But I must say, if you want to do that, it's like there's no wrong. Okay, if you want to do that, Chris, probably because of the way he was raised, because of the, you know, how he has integrated into the world, he wants to be the type of man that's an upstanding citizen that is like faithful to his wife and shows his son like you don't sleep around. So like that's okay too. If that's okay, I'm not saying that like that's wrong.
I can't stress that enough. You know, I can't.
You be who you want to be.
Go back, and I can't.
Everybody.
I can't fix that part of me, that hole in me that was trying to be filled with that, you know.
I think it's like, would be really hard to find a girl that would be okay with you like just banging a bunch of girls that you meet at the shows. It's like sort of like, in the end, it comes down to like, you can have one or the other, but you can't have both. You know what I mean? And when you involve other people and you decide you want to have a family, have stability, have love, and have a baby, like, you can't just, like, do that. I think that's, like, what it comes down to. In my perfect world, everybody would just, like, really discuss all the, like, structures in place behind all of that mentality and where they came from and how can we, like, kind of tweak and break and stop the human race forever. I'm just joking, but I am such an antinatalist.
You know, the loneliness on the road, or the fear that I felt, or the insecurity.
Again, it all comes back. Humans just want love. It's like 101. It's like we should just learn in kindergarten. You came from your mother's womb by an act of somebody coming inside of her, and now you're going to want love from probably whatever sex you are attracted to. And then your biology is going to teach you that you should reproduce.
That I would try to chase and...
Chase, yeah. I mean, like, you guys have external sex organs that have sperm that come out of them, and we have, like, 1 egg a month. So, obviously, mathematically, like, you're like, we want, right? And we're just like, just 1 a month.
Just conquer with this. With sex, and it was...
I'm sorry, but him saying the word sex, I just, like, for the record, there's nothing, like, wrong with his appearance, but, like, the idea, like, humans... talking about sex, the older I get, I'm just like, ugh, like, gross. It's like body fluid and slimy things. I don't know what's wrong with me. Why I'm just like, I guess, like, that, does that happen in your 40s? Do you start to just, like, become asexual or something?
It was out of control. So I have a chance here to...
Or were you having fun? Was it out of control because, like, everybody got on your case about it, and then it was, like, angled that it was underage people? Like, that is really bad. It's one thing to, like, if you have a sex addiction, but, like, underagers?
Apologize.
I don't know, call me the friggin' devil. I just don't think he has anything to apologize for. I think society needs to apologize to people for not teaching them a different way than the nuclear family as the Holy Grail.
To the people who got caught up in that shit. And... yeah,
I mean, like, yeah, that is ethically, if you kind of imply to a human being that you're going to not do this and then you do, yeah, that's wrong. He should have applied. I'm sure he has apologized to his fiancée probably 1 billion times. But, like, that's who he should be apologizing to. I think it's very nice that we've got this video to see his heart. And, like, again, there's no, like, judgment. This was the message he wanted to give to the people. And, like, on that note, I really like how it's opened up, like, a dialogue of like, vulnerability and mistake making, and that people can kind of talk about what was actually deeply going on in their psyches versus, like, a standard PR message. So I give him props for that. A lot of people have seen this, and I'm sure they're having discussions about it, so that's super cool.
You know, the lies that I would tell my fiancé, my friends,
I mean, I don't know why you'd lie to your friends, but I understand the fiancé part. Also, I would never get engaged to a comedian. I'm just saying.
And I'm sorry. You know, I think that being a comedian, it's funny, the stuff that you tell yourself to make everything okay, you know, like the cheating and the sex every night or whatever.
I mean, like, it's these guys get into these relationships, but that they want to bang other girls. Like, I've been with guys that are just not the kind of guy that wants to bang another girl. They actually just want to be with one person. So, like, those are the kind of guys, girls, you should date if you want a monogamous relationship. I mean, now I can tell the difference almost right away. Like, I know the kind of guys that want to be with other girls. And, like, they might make it seem like they just want to be with you, but I don't know how much changing there is these kind of guys. But then there's, like, others that you date, and you're like, no, he'd never cheat on me. And, like, we might be wrong a small percentage of the time, but you girls know what I'm talking about. There's, like, guys that just don't cheat. They're just not like that.
Yeah, well, any guy would do this, which is not true, or whatever it is. And I don't know. It was too much, and I made too many excuses, and I can't do it anymore, and I haven't been, and I've been on this path of recovery now for
he's probably trying to make up for it with his girl and with the baby. I think if he didn't love her and if he didn't have a kid and he had just decided, like, was in single life, this would be a totally different video. But you know, it's almost like he's saying this so his fiance is gonna yeah, it's like he's saying this to the world, but he's actually should be like saying this to his fiance, which he probably already has, but it's probably just like another act of making, you know, I don't want to say making himself feel better, because this has obviously been really, really tough on him. It was an interesting decision, you know. I don't have like a thought on it. I mean, I have lots of thoughts. I just told you, but I can't say like one word, like it was great or it was good or it was unnecessary. It was just like it is. It is the choice that he chose to make based on how he feels, and that's all any of us can really do.
Months, I'm doing well, and you know, it's the hardest thing ever to have to look at yourself and realize that that's what it is, and that's what you've done, and that's what
you've done. That's what it is.
We are, and
I mean, in the confines of our society and monogamy, yes, but outside of that, you just like were having a good time, and some of the girls had a great time. Some of them got pissed off because they caught feelings. You went a little bit young on the spectrum, but you never know, you know, what you're going to get. It's like kind of unsafe mentally, emotionally, to just like kind of jump in with anybody. You don't know what kind of like mental issues you're dealing with. Girls can get a little crazy, you know. I don't know if like guys, it's like been the opposite. I've really not had that too much. You know, I think I've made a few guys mad or sad because I didn't want to like be with them. Maybe it's like a biological thing, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I could be wrong about everything I just said. This is just like my gut reactions to this. So thanks for watching. I'd love to hear what you think below. And Chris, I'm like happy you're back, you know. So happy you're back. So see you later, and thanks for watching. Bye.